Well, graduation season is now winding down, and so many families are looking ahead to college, but many are struggling or do struggle with how they will pay for school and continue saving for retirement.
Financial advisor and president of SGL Financial, Steve Lewit, is here now to share with us some tips on how to do both. Thanks for being with us, Steve. So how do you strike that balance between helping your kid, but also essentially paying yourself so you can retire eventually?
Yeah, difficult choices, but it all starts with a conversation and a plan. So retirement is, in my mind, that comes first because there are no loans in retirement. There are no financial aid. You can't borrow money, and you could be a burden to your kids. And retirement is very, very challenging. Look, Fidelity just forecasted that you're going to spend $330,000 in health care in retirement. You've got long-term care possibilities, another $200,000, $50,000 a year for home health care. So in face of all of these costs that you cannot avoid, you have to balance that with wanting to help your son or daughter. And we all have this pull, do I help my son or daughter, or do I save for retirement? So what I suggest is that you continue to put money in your 401k, you maybe start a 529 plan, but most important, have a conversation with your kid and tell them the way it is, be honest and candid with them. And it's not being selfish, it's really being smart. And that will be the best financial lesson probably that your child is going to have for a good portion of their lives.
Yeah. I always like the idea of a conversation, and I think you actually answered my next question, because I was going to ask, should you be dipping into your 401k perhaps a little bit if you just need to make up some of the money to pay for college?
Yeah, well, I always urge my clients to stick with their retirement plan, because as you get closer to retirement, you don't have time to make up lost savings. Look, if you pull money out of your 401k, first of all, you might incur tax penalties. Second, let's say you put $50,000 out to help your child. Well, 15 years later, because of compounding interest, that's $200,000 that you don't have. Right. So I urge everyone that's in this situation, because it is a hard situation. You love your kids, I understand. But this is a good time to find a financial advisor and get a plan where you can balance both yourself, what your needs are, and your child's needs, and come out with a win-win instead of a win-lose.
And if a student, isn't lucky enough to have a parent who can help underwrite the cost of college, what do you recommend they do? How should they approach this huge expense, which does end up burdening people for decades?
Yes, it does. So here the child has to take control, and it's actually very empowering for children to handle their own college in a way. There are lots of options. Well, let me give you an example. There was $2.5 billion of Pell Grants, that's free money, that were left on the table. So, if you're a youngster that has to stand on your own, make sure you file for the FAFSA, make sure you investigate every possibility for financial aid, for scholarships, get a part-time job, consider community college for a couple of years before you pay more in regular college, make a budget and follow it. And, at the end of the day, a lot of students take loans, but if you handle them wisely, if you really make sure you have a structure for managing them, you can get through, and it's a great way to move forward.
Yeah, be resourceful, which is a good skill to have in life. Okay, Steve Lewit, we appreciate your time. We'll talk to you again soon.
See you. My pleasure.
Okay.